It's time for In Bed with Jed.
Welcome back to In Bed with Jed and the virtual edition for now. Hopefully it will go live again soon when we're able to. And I am so excited because today we have a very, very special guest. I am in bed with Jevon Martin, and he is the CEO and founder of Princess Janae Place in the Bronx, an all-around community activist, educator, mentor, father, and grandfather. Yes, wow. So please welcome him, everybody. And thank you, Jevon, for joining me. Now, for those out there who don't know, what is Princess Janae Place, and what made you decide that we should have a place in her honor?
Well, thank you for having me, Jed. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And the Princess Janae Place is a safe space for people of trans experience to come and get services for housing, legal services, healthcare, mental health, and just a safe space to come and use our computers, but mainly for housing and homelessness. We started the first homeless walk 2 years ago here in New York. We walk for everything else except for homelessness, and we have over 86,000 homeless people in New York. So at Princess Janae Place, we don't turn anyone away. So if you're homeless and you need a place, come to us. We'll assist you with all the services to obtain a safe space. We started this because Princess Janae passed away in 2013 of lymphoma cancer. And it just so happens that she was my gay mother in the street, in the scene. We grew up together from early ages in the village, and one day she was doing a show and they didn't treat her well. She was like, I'm gonna get enough money and I'm gonna start my own place. And we were joking and saying, we'll name it Princess Janae Place, right? And it had a ring to it. We were like, yeah, when you get enough money, let's do this, right? You don't have to worry about having shows on other people's terms. But unfortunately, she passed away in 2013, and I started this homeless organization in her honor. She was homeless. She used to live in a U-Haul truck. She used to go in Port Authority and wash up, and she never had any issues. She always worked. She did shows. She took care of herself, and I figured, what better way to honor her in helping the trans community is by naming this after her. And I remember she said, a while ago, don't let anyone tell you what you cannot do and who you cannot be. And I hold that close to my heart. As you see, I have the tattoo, Princess Janae Place here, and I hold her close to my heart. And I have her ashes, and I just want to do her legacy justice. Make sure people remember the great person that she was. And if anyone believes in energy and spirits, she's still with us, right? And she guides me every day to be the best me that I can be.
Wow. And our viewers should know that Princess Janae Place is New York State's first and only community-based housing organization led by and for people that have been through the trans experience there. So that's definitely a wonderful thing. And what do you remember about her personally? Because I met her back in 2001. Wow, almost 20 years ago. Yes, and she was competing at the Miss Auntie M's pageant. Auntie M's was a tiny bar on Long Island where I was raised. and I was one of the judges of the contest. And I remember how she just wowed the place. And I remember thinking, if you're going to call yourself a princess, you better damn well carry yourself like royalty. And she did.
Yes.
She won. And it was not difficult to see like what made her so spectacular. But what was your favorite memory of her? What made her stand out? Because in New York City, it's very hard to stand out as a performer, to stand out as any kind of artist. So what unique characteristics? Was there a particular anecdote that you remember about her? That
Well, so we have been together for many, many years. So I have known her and I watched her transition into a beautiful woman. And so there are so many different characteristics about her. She was so loving and caring, and she housed people in her own home for as long as I can remember. She used to live in New Jersey, and her home was open to a lot of people. I, Dominique Jackson used to live with her, many
yes.
many years ago, and she actually was Dominique's father before she transitioned into Janae, and I actually have fond memories of everything that she has been through, the pageantry system. I've been there with her. I was her designated driver for many, many years. And she opened my world to the drag and ballroom scene. And she she really instilled in me just to be the best me that I can be, and don't worry about anyone else. So that's what I've been doing. I haven't let anyone tell me what I can't do. Anything is possible if you put your heart into it. You work and make it happen. It might not happen right away, but if it does, then that just proves that you're doing the right thing. But if it doesn't, don't give up. Don't give up and keep pushing.
Right. And if you have a cause that you really believe in, take that cause and just keep fighting for it every single day. Just make sure it's a cause that you really, really believe in, and then you'll never have to question why you're doing it. It's just gonna, the cause will kind of find you, and then that makes it a lot easier. Now,
Exactly. And
yeah,
own it, definitely own it, right? There's gonna be some bad days and maybe some slumps, but it only makes you stronger.
yes, yes. And in our community, in the GLBTQ community, GLBTQ community, we have like so many worthwhile causes, and homelessness is one that, because perhaps it's not quite as glamorous, or because we just don't think about it, it sometimes can get neglected. So it's great that you and all the people you work with have chosen that as your cause there. And what is the biggest challenge that you face with Princess Janae Place? Like, what's been the hardest part about keeping the organization, thriving and keeping true to the mission that it was founded on?
The hardest thing right now is the apartments, finding apartments, 1 bedroom apartments that are affordable for vouchers, because the the vouchers that the state and city are giving out are not affordable, right? They say they're affordable, but they're not. We need low income housing, because these vouchers will be great for low income housing, but they there aren't any, and it's really hard. And I found some um, vacant lots, and I've given the information to several elected officials, and I feel as though they take these properties and they just, oh, I had this great idea, or I found this property. We need this space. I've given information for several projects, and I feel as though they take these projects and make it their own. And it's fine, but if you're gonna make it your own, make it affordable for low income people. Don't make it a co-op or a condo that people can't afford. And then we have people coming from other states, here buying these co-ops and condos. We have to work with the people that are in the shelter system. Let's get these people out of the shelter system. We don't need shelters. Everyone that's already in these SROs, just let them have it. You know, it's a SRO. They're putting a dollar amount on this. You go to other countries and they don't have this problem. You know, we really need to do better.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of the problem is just like kind of like navigating through politics as usual to try and get people what they need, right? Wow.
And that's sad, right? Right there, what you said.
Hmm.
Sifting through politics as usual.
Right.
Shouldn't be like that. We need to do away with that. If there's a vacant lot, put a building up there and get some people out of these shelters and put them into one bedroom. Make one bedroom buildings. Like just it's just as easy as that. We have this lottery. And I don't see where it's taking people out of the shelters. Like they're keeping people in the shelters. And I understand that they're getting funding for it. But get them out. The shelters are not safe. They're full of drugs. And I hate to say it, but it is. So you have someone that is, on drugs and you put them in a place where there's drugs, they're not gonna leave. Right?
Right, right.
So let's
Yeah. And
move
that's
them
also
out.
why,
The problem starts within.
yeah. And that's also why, like, when we see homeless people, especially in New York, like, we see them on the subway and, often kind of, taking shelter wherever they can, like the alcove at like a bank at an automated teller machine. And we say, well, why don't they just go to a shelter? Anybody with any kind of knowledge about what a shelter is like knows that that's not always the greatest option. We kind of just throw that line around. Why don't they just go to a shelter? But yet, it's not always that's not always a safe alternative. So, like you said,
It's not, and mentally, it's not safe either, right? People get their things stolen, and some people need to be on medication. Let me rephrase that: they don't need to be on medication, but some people have medication that they are diagnosed to having medication, but they can't get it because they're homeless, right? And they don't have the means to get to their now they have mental health issues, right? So we write them off, but a lot of these chronically homeless that are living on the train and in the alcoves and under the highways, anyone that can live on the street for years, I want to know how they did it. I want to talk to them and see how they managed to live on the street for years. They are very smart.
right, right. Well, to them, it's just a matter of survival, and as human beings, we do what we can do to survive, and just hope that, like, we can survive long enough to just get to a better place. So, wow. So,
Yeah, well, I used to work at the MTA for 15 years, and I just quit in October. So, working in the MTA, I've gotten to meet several homeless people and have conversations with them. And I have not come across one person that didn't have a story that needed to be told. And we like I said, we turn our nose up to the chronically homeless, but just have a conversation with one of them and find out how they got that way. Some people just need a roof over their head and they can get back to what they had, or even just some type of safe haven. They left or they were put out of their situation. Some people have mental health situations and they just, like I said, need their medication, and some people didn't have access to that and they ended up homeless.
gotcha. Wow. Well, again, we thank you for all the work that you're doing. I know it's like not easy. It's pretty much like a 24/7 job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
My phone is always ringing. My social media, I always have inbox and I constantly refer people to the office, like, here, just call the number or shoot me an email. But because I am, out and about and on social media, it's like 24/7. People hit me up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, hey, you couldn't have hit me up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But you have to understand people's situation. And sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe they weren't in the safe space to do so. So I answer my phone at any time, and it drives my wife crazy. And she's like, you know, she's like, I just wish you would stop. I really wish you would stop. But I'm like, if I stop, then I feel like I'm doing a disservice because I just can't bear seeing another homeless person dead on the street, or something that could have been, just dealt with, like, so simple as putting someone in a safe space, right?
Right, right. Do you ever now? So now you're in a unique situation, like so many people. You're home with the kids, and that's rough. It's do you ever and you told me that, like, when I said, all right, we're going to be doing we're going to be doing this through Zoom, and you're like, oh, another Zoom, another Zoom experience, because you're on Zoom all the time now. It's really like become like the new, or maybe not the new, but one of the more normal now forms of communication for all of us there. Do you ever get any free time? Like, have you, while you're on lockdown with the family, have you discovered any new TV shows or movies or some guilty pleasures that you didn't know about before?
Yes, you said free time. So I don't know what free time is, Jed, because I'm always doing something. But yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. So on HBO, there's this new show called Legendary, and I am in the crowd of Legendary. I'm actually one of the background people. I had the privilege to be a part of that, and I'm just excited to watch it. Legendary is amazing. I know all of the cast of Legendary, and it was just great to be a part of history. You know.
Wow. Ah, congratulations.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, are
It's
there
it's,
any?
it's a part of the ballroom scene, and I'm also part of the ballroom scene. I am the one who changed the butch realness category, and because there were trans men, and I was one of the trans men walking butch realness because we didn't have our own category. So I had to constantly go to the other parents of the houses and say, "Hey, I made this trans man category. Please, let's put this in your balls when you have them. Please put trans man realness." And they were like, "But there's not that many trans men." I said, "Just do it, and I will bring the trans men." And now trans man realness is just the biggest category in the ballroom. Seeing to see the trans men come through and participate, it's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Yes, there are, like you said, you could bring the trans men, we know they're out there. We know they're there. So, yes,
Oh my
yes.
goodness. Yeah.
Hmm,
Yeah.
hmm. Wow. So, on a more serious note, there's a lot of, people are upset and people are finally speaking up about police brutality, which obviously affects, black and brown people. And it's just finally come to like a fever pitch, like all over the country. And people are going out and protesting. Now, I, as a healthcare provider, and for like half my life, I think we need to go out there. You need to make your statement. You need to stand up for rights. But I'm also all about safety. And I don't want to have to admit anybody at the hospital. I don't want to have to treat anybody in the hospital. So, as someone who works with youth and who is just really aware of what's going on, how would you tell people to go out there and do what they need to do, but still stay safe? I mean, how would you tell them, you got to protect yourself while you're fighting for your rights, for equality, against police brutality? What advice would you have for them, and what would you tell them, the younger and the older people, actually?
Well, I'm glad you asked me. I'm on the front line at rallies and at riots for many years, right? And this is even prior to my transition. So right now, this is just my opinion, and I feel as though we should take it back to how we used to do it back in the day. If you have a problem with the police, these rallies need to be in front of the precinct. These rallies need to be directed to the police. I have a little problem with the looting because there's no way to tell whose property you're looting and you're destroying. You could be destroying a black person's property, you know, and if we're tired of everything that's happened to the black community, looting and destroying property is not helping. The problem is with the police. Take it to the police. The problem is with 45. Take it to 45. I feel that we should have marched on DC. All of this anger and all of this pain should have been, there should be a trillion people in DC right now at that White House asking, not asking, telling DC, telling the Senate, everyone to remove 45 because that is where the problem lies. I, I, what message are they? I'm just I have a lot of pain and a lot of anger, but I'm not going to destroy property because what message is coming from that? We're all hurt. We're all angry. But you're angry with the police and you're angry at 45 and destroying a mall. 45 is in a bunker. He could care less. But if we would have marched on DC to the White House, that's where all the people need to be to show up in numbers to say, I have had enough. And that's the right way to do it. And I'm not, this is just my opinion. You have a problem with a person, you talk to that person. That's where, in my opinion, that's where everybody needs to be right now. Everyone needs to be at the White House. Or you need to be in front of your local precinct, asking them, talking to them, letting them know that you have had enough. But if you are out there in your hometown and whatever it is that you're doing, make sure you have a backpack with all your necessities. Make sure you march in groups. And I don't mean 2 to 3, I mean groups of 10. Make sure you have everyone's phone number. Make sure you have water. People are using milk to wash their eyes out. Face shields, right? Goggles. You need these things and get everyone's phone number, emergency contacts, exchange numbers, make sure your phone stays in a safe space. People are holding their phones in their hands, and then when the crowd starts running, you lose your phone, right? People are you have to write down these phone numbers and put them in your book bag. Not a shoulder bag or a fanny pack. A fanny pack it's very small. Keep your personal belongings in there and keep your face covered. Keep your face covered. It's very important, and goggles are very important when they throw the tear gas and the pepper spray. You have to protect your eyes, right? And just be as safe as you can and stay with someone. That's the best thing that I can tell you if you're gonna be out there. And if there's a curfew, please abide by the curfew because the Army, the Navy, the National Guard, all of these people are not playing. If they tell you to close your door and go inside, close your door. Look out the window because those bullets hurt, right? And not only that, but you should not be getting shot, right? When they call the National Guard, that's it. Yeah. Curfew means be in the house. Don't be on your way in the house at curfew. You knew there was a curfew. Do not put yourself at risk, at death. Do not. Please, I beg you. You know there's a curfew at 8 o'clock. Be on your way home at 7. And if you have to work, you talk to your managers and let them know that they need to find a way for you to get home safely.
Yes,
That's
yes.
something I could do.
Yeah, bravery won't always protect you, bravery won't necessarily keep you safe. So again, my first, you got to protect yourself, be aware of who's around you. Don't assume that everybody there is there for the right reasons,
Say that
because
again, Jed. Say that again, because there are some white nationalists in the crowd, and
Mhm.
they are starting the vandalism. They are starting the looting, and they are putting BLM on these buildings. I saw several videos of white women uh, putting BLM on buildings, and they weren't even part of the Black Lives Matter crew that was out there, and they're being exposed, and they're like, so what, I can write whatever I want. Yeah, you can write whatever you want, but why are you writing Black Lives Matter on a building that was vandalized when that's not who vandalized the building? And they showed the white people breaking the building, the windows, going inside, looting. And when the camera goes by for the news, it looks like the Black Lives Matter movement did it. They weren't the ones who did
Yeah, and again, people have to be careful. Again, protect yourself, and just when you read news, make sure you know where the news is coming from. Don't fall prey to just people that are there to just agitate and to start trouble, whether it's in person or virtually. Make sure you get your news from a trusted source. And again, like you said about the curfews, because it's like it's like with the coronavirus, bravery, like going out into the crowds and not protecting yourself. Yes, it may be brave, but it won't protect you from the coronavirus, nor will bravery protect you from being the victim of violence. If you don't, you need to watch your back. You really do. So
Yeah, but also with that, Jed. So you can explain a little bit about safety with the coronavirus as well, because there are thousands of people out here rallying and rioting, and they they need to understand that, keep your mouth covered, your nose covered, even your eyes when you're in these large groups, right? But when you're in your car and you're by yourself in your car, you don't have to have on this mask. When you're at home, you don't need to have this mask on. If you're in your yard, you don't have to have this mask on. In the park, you're harming yourself by keeping a mask on 24/7, right? Because
yes.
you need to breathe in fresh air.
Yes, fresh air is very important. It's also important to do your deep breathing, and because you want to keep the lungs healthy. Either exercise, and if you're not able to do decent amount of physical exercise, do the deep breathing because it helps. It's the same kind of therapy that we give to patients that are recovering from surgery, and it's kind of like
I
a shame.
remember that oh so well. I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it's a shame because the coronavirus has also become kind of it's become politicized again. And sometimes it seems that whether or not you wear a mask, whether or not you protect yourself, whether or not you isolate, it depends on what side of the political spectrum you fall on. And as a healthcare provider, I'm a firm believer that health care should never be politicized because when it comes down to it, we're all the same species and we can all get ill. And so something like that should never be politicized. It's a shame that it has become like everything else, sadly. And
Yeah.
how have you been like now with speaking of coronavirus, today is June 1st, so happy Pride.
Yeah, and thank
do
you
a
for
do a
mentioning
virtual
Happy
toast,
Pride
yes.
first, because I just so happen to be Mr. Trans New York USA 2020.
Yes, yes, yes. Congratulations for that. So,
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Notice you're not wearing your sash right now.
No, I'm not wearing my sash because I don't wear my sash to bed, and I'm in bed with Jed right now. So no
Yes,
sash.
exactly. Yes. And so now Pride, of course, the live parades and a lot of other live events are canceled this year, or as I like to say, just postponed, because I never say cancel because it could always be redone. But so now we're doing a lot of virtual Pride events. Is there anything coming up that you want to tell people about this month?
Yes, there's several things happening. So the National Trans Visibility March is having Pride, and I believe that's June 13th. There might be a whole week of activities happening. I did, however, reach out to Heritage of Pride here in New York to see if I can be one of the honorary marshals, since I am Mr. Trans New York, USA. I know that there is going to be several Pride events happening virtually. So we could just look on Facebook. I'll be posting several on my personal page. I'll also have the PJP page updated, so that everyone knows where the events are happening, on most likely on Zoom or go-to meetings. And I will definitely keep everyone updated. And on June 10th, I will be 50.
Wow. Congratulations. So,
Thank you. I got my AARP card.
wow.
Membership has its privileges, and I will find out what those privileges look like. I think discounts at food stores. I'm looking forward to it. I actually tried to reach out to AARP to see if I could be, the trans representation for 50 years old.
I'll vote for
It's
that.
about
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
Yeah, talk about my experience.
Well, listen, I'll be joining you in March of 2021, so I'll be in the 50 Club too.
All right. Yes.
It-
Yes.
it's
Excited.
it's
I'll
yes,
let you know everything and all the places to go.
yes, exactly. Well, it's just like we were talking about Princess Janae, and when I met her in 2001, I know there are some pictures somewhere, and when I say pictures, I mean real pictures, like print photos. This was before before the digital era and all that, so I have to find those. But it just boggles my mind because I remember it so vividly, and the fact that it was wow, almost 20 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. I have a lot of physical pictures as well, and it's funny you mentioned that because now I'm gonna go in the archives and try to find some of these pictures, and I'll post them.
Yeah. Well, just you mentioned the website. So for all of you that don't know, you can go to Princess Janae Place, and that's JANAE, princessjanaeplace.org, and you can find out much more about the organization and see a lot of photos there, and find out about Princess Janae herself, who, again, the legacy she left behind is a wonderful thing. So it's inspiration to all of us. So
Yes,
as are you,
definitely. Yes, and her Instagram is still up, and her Facebook is still up, and you can go on YouTube and you can see some of her videos and her performances. She was so funny. She was hilarious. I would just look at her and just bust out laughing. Like she, I miss her so much. I'm starting to choke up. Oh my goodness, she was just the best, the best to ever do it. Whatever she put out there in the universe, it always happened. Whether it's the ballroom scene, the pageantry world, and just performing, hosting, she she was just the top, the best.
Yes. How do you feel, like knowing her so well? How do you feel that she would have responded to the explosion of interest in trans characters now? Not an explosion, a minor explosion, because we still need to see more. But for shows like Pose and there's other shows in the works now. How do you feel she would have responded to that?
Oh, she would have been fine because she would have definitely been imposed without a doubt. She would have been imposed. Uh,
As
so
well, she should.
yes, Paris. I was imposed last season. I was a
Congratulations.
judge. Thank you, thank you. You have to go back and rewatch it. I was a judge, and I judged the one when Dominique and Angelica Ross was fighting with one had the hammer and the other one had the knife. I was on the judges panel when Dominique came out with her new house of Winter and asked if they could talk, and I was like, no, what is this? Can't, right? Yeah, it was hilarious.
I'm glad you
And
were that specific because Elektra is always fighting with everybody.
yes, yes.
That's why we
And the
love her.
next funny thing is that she is my sister because of Janae. Like I said, Janae was her father before transition, and Janae was my mom. So from early on, when I so want to call her Tyra because I know her as Tyra, but Dominique, when she first came, like we are family. Like she comes to my house. My wife and her are always talking and texting, and I I don't see her as like this big star because she was always that to me. You know, she was always great to me. You know, but now the world sees how great she is, and that's how I feel about Janae. She was always great. You know, and it was just time for the world to see that she was great. There was so many people that loved her, and she would definitely um, be, you know, on the screen, on TV right now. And I I feel as though that she she would be happy. She would definitely be happy about this and be a part of it as well. And everywhere I go, I talk about her and I bring her up. And you see, I have the tattoo right here, you know, Princess Janae Place. And I just want to keep her legacy alive on a positive note. You know, I don't want her, you know, memory to be lost because she was such a great person. Such a great person.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I was watching some interviews with her on YouTube, and she. I love the way she always had like a clever, smart, snappy answer for everything. Because the interviewer said, "So how long have you been involved in nightlife?" And she's like, "Oh, I know what you're doing. You're just trying to figure out how old I am, and I ain't going there." You know,
Right.
like good answer, good answer. You know.
Yeah, but she was not ashamed of her age either. So she would have been 50 this year as well, and in February. And we had a little cake and we said happy birthday at the office. You know, every year we do that in her honor. We also donate to the Cancer Society in her honor every year. 10% of whatever funding that we get, we donate to the Cancer Society in her honor. You know, I just feel as though, you know, on a whole, as her son, that you know, it's my job to continue this fight, you know, in her honor.
Wow. Well, I am sure she's grateful for that. And I'm sure that sometime today we're going to see a sign, you know, maybe a little twinkle in the sky and all that, or maybe some rainbow colored, flickering lights, you know, when the sun goes down and all that. And I'm sure she's grateful for it. And I'm grateful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's like I said, wow, you know, I want to have you on the show, and I think you said something like, just say when, and that's the answer we want, and all that, you know, because I know that you're kind of like a tireless advocate for the community and all that, and we're all grateful for that. So, anything
Thank you
else you
so
want
much.
to? Anything else you want to tell the masses before we sign off?
Yeah,
Besides,
yes,
check
I
out.
do. And I just want to tell you, as far as the sign, the color of your wall is her favorite color.
Yeah, we're painting the town lavender, so
That
because
is her favorite color, and that's the sign right there that this needed to happen. And I'm glad that
wow.
it happened with you. And also, yes, I have, like I said, about to be 50, and I've never documented any work that I've done. I just keep working, right? So in honor of my 50th, I have collected all of the work that I've done, the interviews and pictures, as much as I could, and I have my own website, and it's jevonmartin.com, and anyone can get in contact with me so that I can come and have lectures and talks about the trans experience, something that I started back in 2003 with ASA College. And we went to the colleges, and we just talked to the students about what it looks like for trans people, just to let them know that we're just normal, regular people. I've I've talked and had lectures at Keene College. I've Rutgers College. I've been on several panels. So I've done keynotes. So this is just the hub to find me as an individual, so that I can continue to reach out to people and speak. I am also a producer, certified producer, and I am working on a new project called Trans in Trump Land. So be on the lookout for Trans in Trump Land. I was also background for The Garden Left Behind. So please check out The Garden Left Behind, and just know that I'm out here, trying to make a better space and place for the trans people and our counterparts and siblings and allies. We're all human first, right? And you cut us, we all bleed, right? So treat us as human beings first
Yes,
before
and that's such
anything.
a yeah, and that's such a simple rule, but yet somehow we can't, as a culture, we can't seem to learn that. We always want to learn things the hard way, or so
And
that's
and,
why I'm
and I
glad.
always say, Jed, think of it like this. Let's say you're blind. You can't see the person that you're interacting with. So let's just keep those blinders on and interact with the people the way we want to be treated. That's it. You don't have to worry about how I look and that I look different than you. How you want me to treat you is how you should treat me. And that's it. And that goes for gender non-conforming people, men, women, non-binary, whoever you are. You put out in the universe what you want to receive. And that's how it goes. That's how I live my life. I treat you like I want to be treated. That's how I was taught. I give out good energy because I want to receive good energy. That's it.
Wow. Yeah, I think the two of us like also feel that at this age, like since you're 50 and I'm going or will be 50 very shortly and I will be 50 very shortly, we both feel it's like, oh God, it's like for decades now, why can't people learn? Weren't we talking about how important this was, how important equality was, and how simple respect and treating people with kindness was like 40 years ago, 30 years ago? And we're still doing it. But listen,
Right.
yes.
And it's so true, Jed. Like, and
Mhm.
people need to understand that this movement that we have to have this Pride Month was on the backs of trans women, right? Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia
Yes.
Rivera, right?
Yes.
Stonewall was a riot, right? It was not a parade. It was a riot because people were tired and fed up. And that's what people need to understand. We can walk around proud of who we are today because of two trans women. And they need to understand this and they need to respect this, right? And not whitewash it and not exclude anyone.
Yes.
And this is where we are today, right? And we still have these problems from within. A lot of groups have problems from within, but you need to sit at the table and discuss these issues and come to a common ground so that we all can move forward. And like I said, right now, I feel as though they need to take it to the precincts and they need to take it to 45 because that's where the problem is. Start from within and work your way out.
Yes, yes. Wow. Wow.
Think
Well,
about it, Jed. Think about it. If there was a trillion people, if all these people that are looting and angry and upset ended up in front of that White House, now you know they would have to be like, hey, Trump, you got to go because the people have spoken. Because it's we, the people.
yes, yes.
It's
And
what we say.
yes. And somehow, somewhere along the line, it got forgotten that the job, and it is a job, not just a platform for personal power. It is the job of the government to protect its people and look after the people's best interests. And a lot of people apparently, we remember learning about that in high school, right, or even earlier than that. And apparently, some people lost the memo for that because they just don't seem to get it. But you're right.
And
And
it's
when I
all
see,
people, Jed. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? It's
mm,
all people. And all
mhm,
people need to show up and say, we have had enough.
yes,
It's
yes.
45. That's where we need to go.
hmm And part of me wishes also that the attention, the national world, not national, the world attention this is getting, it's like, wow, first of all, it doesn't renew my faith in humanity sometimes that it took getting to this point for something like this to happen. But it does make me realize that, like, wow, what we see, because this is so powerful, this is something we need to remember the next time we see such blatant examples of injustice towards anybody. And I really hope that, again, I hope that as Americans, we don't have to learn everything the hard way. I hope that there's still faith that we can learn from history. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and not change history, right?
Mm,
I was with my grandson in his school on virtual school, and I was asking him about slavery, right? And he told me something about the slaves came over here to work, and I'm like, what? No,
oh.
that's not what happened. The slaves did not come over here to work. And he was like, yeah, that's what my teacher told me. Okay, so your teacher is wrong because the slaves did not come to America to work. They were stolen and they were taken to be slaves to work for white people against their will to run their crops in the fields and to take care of their children and their home against their will. And he was like, what? Yeah. So they're teaching the kids that slaves came over here to work. So if that's being told, I wonder what other stories are being told incorrectly.
That is just so wrong. Wow. But yeah, that's why as a parent, you have to stay on top of everything, right? You
Yes,
really do.
yes. And also we need to correct this. But how do you correct this without being wrong or combative? And I just told the teacher, why would you teach that? And she said that's what we were told to teach.
Oh
By
man.
who?
Mm,
You
exactly.
know, and nobody had a problem with this changing
Yeah.
the story of history to have these children not know the truth.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure, probably a lot of people did have problems with it, but, they were either, they just, for whatever reason, they just didn't kind of like push it any further or take the steps to try and address it and all that. So
Her
something to
answer
think
was
about.
her answer was it was too much to tell the children. That's what they were told. It was too much to have these children know this. Why was it too much? If it was taught to me that way, why is it too much for my grandson to know exactly what happened to his ancestors?
hmm Yeah, and that really happened too. So the kids have a right to know. And if it's too much, if they learn about it and it is quote unquote too much for them, then that would be a perfect time for their parents to explain it to them or a knowledgeable person to explain it to them or for them to seek out more information. but kids have a right to know about history, because what we learn as children affects us, and we can all still remember things that we were taught either from our parents or from our teachers, and those things stay with us even as times change. They're so firmly ingrained. So I'd say that that's very, very important to correct these errors while we can. So
Yes, yes, and you have to do it when they're babies, because they did a study with the children with the two dolls. One doll was black and one doll was white, and they asked them which doll is the good doll, and even the black children chose the white doll, and they say which doll is the bad doll, and all of the kids chose the black doll. But why? Why do children 4 and 5 years old choose the black doll as the bad one? Even the black kids chose the black doll as the bad one. Why? Where is this coming from?
well, I know where it's coming from, but what can we do to correct that? That's the next thing. It's coming from like
Yeah.
decades, and not decades, like centuries of racism. But the main thing is like, what can we do now moving forward as humanity? What can we do now to solve
Well,
that?
what I do is I tell them this is a doll, right? And why would you think this doll is bad? Right? It's a doll, baby. It's a toy. And so I would turn that into what makes this doll bad, to hear their response. Because it has to be something that they've seen. It has to be something that was told to them. Because just for a child to choose which one was bad, they've had to see something.
Yeah.
Something triggered that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I still have a lot of faith in humanity, and I believe that on a day-to-day basis, it's kind of like this good advice for the alkies. It's good advice for all of us, one day at a time. So even if we correct, society's way of looking at things, even if it's just in small steps, again, one day at a time, person to person, moment by moment, incident by incident, email by email, if we have to.
Yeah, phone
I
call
have
by
faith.
phone call. Pick up the
Yes.
phone and make a phone call,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, Jed, but we'll text before we call, we'll email before we text, and I feel as though we need to take it back to basics. A lot of people don't even remember phone numbers, right? We can't function without our phones.
It's a sign of the times, that's for sure. But I think
Yeah.
that those little steps is what's going to make change, and we owe it. We owe it to our kids. We owe it to the future generation. So that's why we need to keep fighting.
Yeah, yeah. And these kids on the front line, they are not their ancestors, right? And these kids are out here on the front line. I saw a lot of young kids out there, and they are ready to fight, right?
Yes. Yes.
But they need to know what they're fighting for. They're angry and they're tired, and I get it, right? But there has to be a plan, and the plan needs to go to 45. And I'm gonna say that until they get it and they hear it. He's in a bunker. Why is he in a bunker? Because he know he's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Wow.
who's tweeting? If he's in a bunker, who's tweeting? I want to know. How does he have service in this bunker? And I also want to know why is he in this bunker? What is the problem?
Uh-huh. Eh.
The only reason why he's in a bunker is because he knows something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the wrong is him.
Oh, I know, but that's just it. He needs to realize it. We can all agree upon that, but in my mind, like unless somebody really like sees, they can like look inside their own head and see the error of their ways and learn, and then eventually make amends. It really doesn't do any good. So that's what I'm hoping for, but that doesn't mean we have to stand by and let it happen either. So you mentioned
Right,
before
right.
about the kids. The kids like need to like learn their awareness, and they need to go out and make changes. They also need to vote, and not just the kids, all of us. including us 50-year
Yeah,
olds. We need to do the same thing, you know.
yeah,
So
and they also we all need to take this census. Although the census is not inclusive of the trans, GNC, non-binary community, just take it, right? Because this funding is going to go to your area where you live, and if you're not counted, then your area does not need that money, right? And it's going to go to some other area that doesn't need it as much as your area needs it. So there are, a lot of people, oh, I'm not taking it because it's not inclusive of me. Choose a gender, right? It doesn't matter if that's the gender that you most feel like or represent, but that number will be put there. So your town, and I'm just gonna say Manhattan, right? They just need to know how many people live in Manhattan, right? Because if it's actually 500,000 people in Manhattan, and I'm just throwing that number out there, and only 200,000 people did the census, those other 300,000 people are not counted, and that funding will not go to Manhattan, and it needs to go there. So that's why I say just take it. I took it. It was like 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes. I took it, it was so quick, and I'm like, wait a minute, but how come they don't know that I'm a trans guy, right?
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just chose, male, and kept it moving because they need to know how many males live where I live.
Yes, and it's important, like you said, it is important. It's like, to me, it's almost like the equivalent of like not voting because, you don't, you're not crazy about like, a particular party, so you want to either vote third party or you don't vote at all, and that's just the worst thing you could do, you know.
Right. And that's how I feel 45 will end up coming back, because people are saying, oh, I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I'm a liberal. And I'm like, that's the same as voting for Trump. Because if everyone votes for this liberal party that doesn't want to vote Democrat or Republican, look at that. All of those votes could have went towards Democrat to get 45 out of there. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying they're wasted. I'm not saying they're wasted because their votes matter, right? And that liberal person that they want to win matters. But what we need to do is get 45 out. And that's where I am. So don't put your vote there and he ends up staying because you voted liberal.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. Well, yeah. Well, we're going to have to, eventually it comes to the point where everybody has to get out of bed and start their day. And
And we're there. This is it.
I know. Yeah, unfortunately, we got to go now. And I really can't thank you enough for speaking with me, taking time. And yes, please thank Jevon Martin for taking time out of his very, very, very busy schedule to join us today, So, and please remember, JevonMartin.com. Is that up and running? Or yeah, JevonMartin.com. You'll see it on the screen shortly, hopefully. And also, and make sure that you go to Princess Janae Place at Princess Janae Place. That's JANAE.org. And again, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the Pride Month, however we can do it in this day and age, right?
Yes, virtually. And I forgot one thing. Help the homeless NY.org.
Yes, helpthehomelessny.org.
For the homeless walk we're supposed to have August 30th. And we did the first homeless walkathon 2 years ago.
Well, hopefully, hopefully maybe that walk will be live. Are you optimistic about that? Or
yes, hopefully August 30th, Van Cortlandt Park. We're just gonna walk around the track safely. Let's hope we can do it.
Yeah. So get out those walking shoes, everybody. Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, and thank you all for watching. Until next time, bye.